Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wholesale with Joe. I'm your host, Devin Hager. Man, I'm really excited to share this video with you guys. So, I have implemented something in my business that has helped me scale significantly, especially in a time where wholesaling is not the easiest business to be involved in. I'm not going to sugarcoat it like some other guys might. It's tough wholesaling right now. There's a lot of people getting into it. There's a lot of people marketing to the same people. So there's significant competition right now. And real estate's been a little bit tougher with the interest rates. And so there's just a little bit of a pivot that we've had to make in our business to try to be profitable and to make sure we're doing successful deals. So one of the things that we started getting into are what's called novation agreements. So novation agreements are what give you the limited power of attorney to sign on behalf of a seller. So to give you a perfect example, so I'm going to break down a deal that we just did, and I'm going to take you step by step on how we got the lead and then take it all the way to when we closed and made on this deal, we made $26,000. Like it was an amazing deal. There's a lot of cool things we were able to do on it. We were able to help the seller in so many ways. And what I learned on this deal is that honestly, if we didn't have this tool to do novations, it would have been a dead lead for us. We would have just like, hey, sorry, the numbers don't work. We can't do it. Maybe we'll refer you to a real estate agent, or we'll just put it in our database and follow up with you later. So we get this deal. I'm going to show you real quick. Let me share my screen real fast. So we get this property in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So we closed on it just about a month ago. So we get this good looking property. So the guy had just made some upgrades to the place. He put a new roof on it, new air conditioning system. The windows were newer. He'd painted part of the house. So like he'd done some things to it. It was a little dated in areas. So, but it was overall a good house, and it would qualify for normal financing, whether it's an FHA loan, a VA loan, or a conventional loan. But the numbers that he needed to be at did not make sense for us as a wholesale deal. So, what we learned on this one is that we have to be strategic on how we can do this. So, I had learned about novation agreements about a year ago. I had partnered with one of my good buddies named Scott Markowitz. He had told me about them, and we did a deal that I tried to novate and send out, but we weren't able to. The numbers came back, and we ended up getting offers less than what we were under contract for, so there was no spread there. So, but on this particular deal, we had made some significant strides in how to successfully negotiate novations. And my acquisition manager, Luis Otero, did an amazing job working with the seller and providing value for him. So, just to give you some brief numbers on it. So, this individual, he wanted to sell his home for $350,000. So I ran comparables and I looked at the numbers, and I think in the condition his home was in, I'm like, it was worth about 400,000. So I'm like, okay, well, there's not a lot of meat on the bone there. Like it's hard as a wholesaler to get a property under contract for 350 and then sell for 400. But he was a motivated seller. He remember the four pillars of motivation of a seller to know if they're a good quality lead for a wholesale deal is one, you want to make sure what their timeline is. And this guy wanted to sell his house quick. He needed to get out quick. The second one is the condition. The property, even though it had some great updates to it, still needed work. And he didn't want to deal with making any repairs. The third was his price. Like, yes, he still wanted a higher price, but he was willing to negotiate and come down on what he knew he could probably get in the open market. And third was his motivation. Like he wanted to sell and get out of town. He was ready to move across the state, start fresh, and start new. So I call my acquisition manager, hey, Luis, we got to get on this property. I think there's some opportunity here. And if we can't negotiate with him on a lower price to do a wholesale deal, let's see if he'll consider doing an novation agreement. So Luis goes to the appointment, and he was able to negotiate the lowest he can get the seller to go was $342,000. So that's the lowest he could go. But he would allow us to put together an ovation agreement. And I actually learned a better phrasing for it, honestly, from one of my good buddies, Brandon Beatty, who's a very successful real estate investor and wholesaler in Dallas, Texas. And he calls it the home equity protection program. So the way we negotiate on these deals is that we give them two options. We say, hey, first option is, I guess three options if you're going to continue, if you're going to consider offering to take over their existing mortgage. But the first option is, hey, we're going to come with a cash offer. And obviously our goal is to buy your property cash, cover all your closing costs, and buy the property as is. And the second option is, if you don't want to go that route, we have what's called the home equity protection program. And everybody said, what's the home equity protection program? I say the home equity protection program is what gives us the ability to be able to be have a limited power of attorney on that property to sign any listing agreements or documents, and then to be able to market the property not only to our off-market network of investors, but also market the property to our on-market network of investors and buyers and brokers and realtors. So it gives you the permission to basically list the property on the MLS because you can sign on behalf of them. So we had an attorney review this, and like I said, I'm not giving any legal advice on this, but we had an attorney for us review it and saw that we can use the document that we were using, and that we just need to make sure we got it notarized so that we can list the property with our realtor or use a flat rate listing and get the property out to the masses so that we can then bring a buyer to the property and then buy it for a price above the amount that we were currently at. So we get the property under contract for $342. We offer to pay all of his closing costs. And then we go with our realtor, Mark Nomovitz, who is in the Port St. Lucie area, amazing realtor. He lists the property at $400,000. So he lists the property, and the seller understands that he's going to be having to make himself available and make the home accessible. So those are two things. Eric Brewer talks about it. He's the goat on novation agreements, and I've learned a lot of stuff from his videos and things like that. So he says there's two main important factors when you're doing a novation. You want availability and accessibility, because you're going to be getting normal buyers to the property that are most likely going to be coming in with a normal loan to purchase the property. So we ended up getting, right off the bat, we ended up getting 3 offers, all at asking price of $400,000, and they're all VA offers. So we knew that we were probably going to have to make a few little repairs to the home based on the type of financing these buyers were looking at, but we were ready and prepared for that. So one of the things that we negotiate as well to help the seller out is that he needed money up front. So this is just a side note. So to say, hey, if you're going to allow us to do the home equity protection program, we're going to be able to serve you and help you in the best ways you can. So our seller didn't have any cash. So we offered him to give him $3,000 up front to be able to help him do a deposit for his next place he's going to move into. So that was an investment that we needed to make from the beginning to make sure he knew that we were committed to work with him and to make it happen. So, but we chose not to do that until we knew we can secure a buyer. So once we got a buyer in place, they were under contract, they were past their inspection period, so we knew that they were committed to buy it, and we had 2 other backup offers, which made it even better. I gave the seller the money up front that was going to go towards the purchase. So he was going to get 342 minus the 3,000 we've already given him. And that when we got it closed, we not only get our profit, but we get the 3,000 back as well. So, and part of the process, what we had to do, he had to show the property, which was not a problem. He was very accommodating to that. Our realtor, Mark Nomovitz, handled it very well as well to work around him and his schedule. And we just, the reason why the seller was willing to do this with us is, one, my acquisition manager did an amazing job explaining it, and we were providing value to be able to not only give him cash up front, but we also were going to give him time after closing to move out so he can get all the stuff out of the property and settle in his next place, and to also get a dumpster to be able to get rid of some of the items that were in the home and pay for a cleaning fee because our buyer was going to want the house in decent shape when he moved in. So there's a few things that we were able to provide there right off the bat where he was saying, yep, I'm happy to do that. And then we also invested, we had to spend about $1,000 to make some repairs to the home that the lender for the buyer that needed to be made. So at the end of the day, so everything went smoothly. We had like a 5-week closing time frame. So, and the seller was really accommodating and working with us. Like I said, we gave him $3,000. We paid for a cleaning crew to clean up the property for him. We got rid of some of the items in the home that he didn't want to take with him and he didn't want to be responsible for, because we agreed that we would take care of that. And we made some repairs to the home because we told him we would buy the house as is, where is. So when you're doing a novation agreement, these are some of the things you may need to factor, especially the repair one. That is one that comes up fairly often in my experience in novation agreements. But like I said, we invested $1,000. I got my $3,000 back at closing, and our total profit after the $400,000 and paying for the seller and buyer's commission, we covered that, and covering the seller sides of closing costs, because usually in this scenario of novation, the buyer's gonna cover the closing costs on their end as well. And then also, what's so important in this is that you need to make sure you use a title company that understands novation agreements, and understands these limited power of attorneys that you're doing. So we use a great title company, RTR Title in Florida. They handle the transaction. They've handled a lot of novations, and because they do a lot of them for other wholesalers and investors as well. So that was so important to make sure that I'm structured it correctly. And it was amazing. Yeah, we go to closing, and after all the fees, we make a net profit of, I believe it was $25,500 on this deal, right around that number. So it was a great deal. Like I said, in a normal deal, like 6, 7 months ago, we're walking away from this deal because we're just like, well, there's not enough meat on the bone. But we were able to help provide a lot of value for the seller. We handled all the documents, all the cleanup, all the repairs, and then he just got his cash and he moved up north from the state and started fresh. So that was a great example of what we were able to provide for the seller in this situation. And in return, he was going to allow us to do the novation route, or like I said, what we call the home equity protection program. So I hope this video helps you. And if you have any questions about how to do novations, please reach out to me. I've done a lot of them, and it does vary state to state on if these documents that we're using are viable. So like I said, talk with your attorney. I don't give legal advice or any legal counsel. This is just a deal that we did on our end and got permission to do, and the state of Florida has, and based on the documents have, is allowing us, especially that we use a title company that is attorney owned, so they can review the documents that we're doing to make sure we're doing these deals correctly and we're not misleading or misguiding the sellers and the people we work with. So I hope this video helped you. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to keep posting more content. I hope this deal breakdown is going to help you in your wholesaling and investing journey. So thank you so much again for joining Wholesale with Joe. Again, I'm your host, Devin Hager, and please join us next time. Thank you so much.